Today on In the Wood Yard, we've got a wood delivery and it's cold. So this morning when I got up, it was 13 degrees. Right now it's about 19, but that's not the bad part. We got like 20-mile-an-hour winds. You might not be able to see it on camera, but the wind is whipping out of the west, northwest, 20 miles an hour. So the wind chill is below zero. And this is the coldest day of the year so far for us here. And we had such a nice mild fall. It was awesome as far as working outside. We had a lot of days that were in the 50s and 60s, and you know, it would be a frosty night and then it would warm up during the day with sun. Is beautiful. But for the last 4 or 5 days we've had overcast, wind, and cold, and it's getting colder and colder and colder. Of course, it's supposed to happen when you're in December. That's kind of normal for Wisconsin. Pretty soon it's going to be below zero actual temperatures, and then we'll separate the men from the boys and the mice and all that stuff. So today I have a single delivery for 1/3 of a cord, one face cord. I'm going to chuck it into the trailer. Now, my original plan was that I was going to go over by the barn where I've got all the rounds cut, because there's a whole bunch of dry wood in there that all I got to do is split it, throw it into the trailer. But I had a tarp over the top of the splitter and it blew off, and it rained about 5-6 days ago when I was gone, and I haven't started it since, and I think I got a bunch of water in it somewhere. I can't get it started. It's the first time ever in 3 years I haven't been able to, or 4 years, however long I've had the Ultra, that I haven't been able to start it. I choked it, I did everything, I put some gas in it, nothing, it just wouldn't start. So I think I'm gonna tow it home tomorrow, put it in my garage, put some heat on it, maybe take the air cleaner out, and I might have got some water in there or something, I don't know, but I couldn't get her started. Sadness, first time that's ever happened. So I just didn't feel like messing around trying to get it to start now to do it. So I've got all this oak here in a bin, so I'm just gonna fill this, not gonna fill it, we're gonna do the face cord, 1/3 of a cord. We're gonna do a half of a load in the trailer, and then we're gonna go deliver it. So hopefully it'll warm up the next couple days, because I've got about 4 or 5 days here in a row where I don't have anything scheduled, I don't have any deliveries, and I can finally get to working on getting some of that wood split, cut, processed, whatever. I got some work to do now that it's that time of year when I start working on next year's wood. So that's the plan, and that's the time to do it. When you got time, attack it. And I've talked about this quite a few times. Try to do something every day, but if you've got a window of time where you can get a lot of work done, motivate yourself to get it done and just start. That's the main thing, is start. If you start, it's not so bad. The hard thing is putting on the warm clothes and going outside, because when you first step out, it's like, why am I out here? I should be inside under the covers sleeping, watching YouTube videos in the wood yard specifically. All right, let's chuck some wood. There we go, the load is in the trailer, and now I'm warm. Now I'm too warm. That's the problem with this kind of weather when it's windy especially, is that, you know, you want to move to get warm, but then you chuck wood or cut wood or split wood and you start sweating. I'm wet on the inside. On my base layer, I'm sweaty, so now I'm pretty good right now, but if I stand here more than 5 minutes, that's going to start to cool down. The wind will be blowing through me and it'll get cold. Now that's one of the reasons I have this coat on. This is a scent lock hunting coat camouflage, and it's got a wind shield layer in it. It's kind of a plasticky thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it does block the wind really nice. The bad thing is that when you wear stuff that blocks wind, generally it holds your moisture in, which is not something you want to do when you're sweating out in the cold, when it's like this, when you got freezing temperatures. And one of the things that you can do is obviously start to open up your layers and take layers off, but I never got that warm. I just started to get warm towards the end there when I was chucking the rounds in, or the pieces in, to load the trailer. And the only thing that's really cold is my hands, because these are not insulated gloves, so my hands are a little cold, but I'm just complaining, you can tell, because I don't really want the cold weather. I guess I don't mind the cold so much, it's the wind that I don't like. When that wind hits you, it just changes everything. I can handle 20 below zero with no wind, but 20 above zero with lots of wind sucks. 40-degree temperature difference, but if you got that wind, it takes the fun out of everything. As much as I complain about the wind, this is a windy place, and for my business, for drying wood, it's awesome. These bins are out in the open all the time, and it just blows and blows and blows. Now, I had someone just recently on the channel ask me a question, someone who was from Great Britain. And I had another person that was on the West Coast, and they said, hey, we get like, 8 feet of rain a year. and it rains like every other day, or it rains for a week straight, and we get one day where it's not raining and then it rains again for a week. How do you what do you propose, you know, to keep the wood dry? And I said, well, number one, put your wood on pallets, whether you stack it or pile it. Put it in an area that the sun and wind can hit it when there is sun and wind. And then if you got a lot of rain, just cover the top. Now, one of the things that my brother Ken and I were talking about is covering our wood this year, because we will be getting snow. We don't have any predicted now for at least a week. So over this next week, I plan on covering some of my piles. And the problem with covering your wood, if you get a lot of snow, is then you can't get the cover off, because that snow just becomes a big, heavy blanket that freezes solid on there, and it's hard to get it off. So what you can do, and what I'm going to do, is I'm not going to use a big, huge tarp. I'm going to use smaller tarps. So my plan is, and I've done this in the past, is that when I stacked wood, I had full cords, and I cut a lot of sheets of billboard material. It's like a tarp, but it's flexible. It's good stuff. And I cut them into 5 feet by 9 feet sections. So when you have a 4 by 8 foot stacked full cord, camera's going down. Look at that. I better put it back up. Oh, now we got the tripod tipping over here. We got all kinds of problems. So when you have that 4 by 8 stacked cord, if that's what you're doing, like I used to do, I could put that tarp over the top, and a little bit would hang over all 4 sides. Just, you know, a couple inches is all that would hang over, maybe 6 inches, something like that. So you could make your tarps even like 10 or 11, even 12 feet long, and you'd have a couple feet hanging off the ends. And you, instead of going 4 feet or 5 feet, you could go 6 or 7 feet wide and have it hang over. But keeping the bottom open allows air to flow through so that it dries. Because if you cover your firewood all the way to the ground with a tarp, all the ground moisture is going to wick up and stay in there, and you basically are creating a terrarium where you're going to grow mold and fungus and bugs, and it's going to make your wood turn punky, and it's going to rot the wood fast. So you want to have the wood so that it can breathe, even if it's dry wood, especially if it's wet wood, though. You want it to dry, because even in the wintertime, your wood dries. It might not dry as much, but you have drier air in the winter generally. We do here, and we have a lot of wind, so that helps. Not as much sunshine, not as much daytime sun and daylight, but it does dry quite a bit. And I have cut wood in the wintertime when it's been 20 below, where I've cut big rounds, you know, 20, 24, 30-inch chunks of oak rounds, where I've cut them into rounds and just left them, and then the next day came back, because then I was going to move them, and I was going to rip them, and I was going to split them. And in the kerf, all the way across the top, there was frost sticking up 2-3 inches all the way around that kerf. And it was 20 below a couple of the times I've done that. So that means that wood is constantly evaporating and drying because that frost formed at the top of the cut around the log. So it does dry in the wintertime. So for those of you that are in a very, very wet climate, my suggestion is, number one, put pallets down. So whether you're stacking or piling, get your wood on top of it so it's off the ground so the air can flow. 2 layers of pallets maybe would be even better, so you're that much higher off the ground. And the pallets generally have openings where they can flow through on the sides because of being able to put forks in for a skid steer or a load or whatever. And then having your sides open like this, whether you use pallets like I do in my piles, in my bins, or if you're going to be stacking, leave it open and then cover just the top. That's my suggestion. The other alternative is that you spend some money and build yourself a woodshed. So there's that. You could have a roof, big space. My brother Eric, if you've seen a video we did not too long ago with the Wolf Ridge Express Wrap, you saw his woodshed, and I've had it in other videos too. He's got a woodshed that's like 17 by 12 feet, and he can get almost 2 years supply in there, like a year and a half, almost 2 years supply of wood for his wood boiler in it. So it works for him. Now, some people obviously don't have the space to have a big woodshed, so they stack in rows. If you're stacking your wood in rows, single rows, so that there's space between them, maybe then you can cut your tarp so you're only like 2 feet. So if you got 16-inch pieces, you got 2 feet, so you can wrap the top and then put bricks or other logs across the top or something heavy, and just cover the tops, and that would keep it dry. So cover the top, leave the rest open. Now, like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to the big tarps, if you were to put a big, huge tarp over some of the big bins that I have, I'll take you over here and show you. So this bin is already partially empty, but if this bin was full and I was going to put a tarp on it, this bin is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pallets long, and it looks like it's 4 pallets. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 pallets wide. So in here, there was like 20 full cords of wood, but I've been taking wood out of there. So at its peak, it was probably, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 feet high. If I was to put a big, huge tarp over the top of this, and it snowed, and we got a lot of snow, and then it partially thawed, and then it refroze, and then more snow, so you end up getting 2 or 3 feet of snow like my brother Ken gets, you wouldn't be able to get the tarp off. It would be very hard. But by going in strips across the top, like I plan on doing on my smaller bins here, I plan on putting the tarps just from side to side, the long way. I mean, the long way for the tarp. So from over there to over here, and the tarp might end like here, and then I'll put another tarp going from here to here, and then another tarp, but go from that side to this side. And by doing that, I'll be able to pull off a single tarp with snow on it, pull it off, get it off the wood, and do it that way. Now, the other bin, that's a big one here that I won't be able to tarp, and I'm not going to tarp this because this wood was just cut and split in the last few months, and it's not going to be ready till probably spring, summertime. This is all the mixed hardwood we have in this bin here, and that's, I don't know, that's probably 11, 12 feet high up there. Well, this is 4 feet, and it's, I don't know, you can see, yeah, it's probably all of 11 or 12 feet there. So all of this stuff, I'm not going to tarp. And if it doesn't snow, then it's no big deal. If it does snow, there's going to be some snow on it. Now, in the past, I have been able to leave some of my piles uncovered, and even with the snow on it, I was able to start on the side and just kind of dig into it, and there's all kinds of dry wood underneath there. And then as the snow that was on top of the pile just kind of falls off and falls down in, I just picked out the good stuff. And then in the spring, I'd pick out the good wood, and snow would be off of it. So it really was never an issue for me. But for those of you that are bringing wood into your house, or for those of you that are selling wood and you got to deliver wood without, you know, being frozen into blocks or have snow on it or being wet, you're probably going to want to cover the top at least. So there's that. All right, let's go deliver this load. She's ready to go.